The diner was nearly empty when the young mother walked in. Her faded blue jacket was zipped up to her chin. Even though the old ceiling fan above her spun lazily, barely moving the warm air, her hands trembled slightly as she held her purse, one that looked older than she was. She chose a corner booth, trying not to draw attention, but in a place like Joe's Highway Diner, everyone noticed everyone. She kept glancing at the clock. The waitress, a kind-looking woman named Patty, approached with her notepad. "Coffee?" she asked. The mother nodded. "Yes, please. Just coffee." A few moments later, a group of bikers pushed through the door. The sound of their boots echoed on the linoleum floor. Everyone in the diner went quiet. Their leather jackets were marked with the bold insignia of Iron Hawks. The leader, a large man with a beard streaked with gray, walked in last. He scanned the room with a serious look, then took a seat near the counter. The mother's eyes flickered with fear for a second, then she quickly looked away. She tried to sip her coffee, pretending not to notice them. Her stomach growled softly. Patty noticed and asked gently, "Haven't eaten, sweetheart?" The woman hesitated. "I'm fine," she whispered, forcing a smile, but Patty knew better. "She brought over a small plate of scrambled eggs on the house," she said. The woman's eyes welled up with tears. "Thank you," she whispered, "but I'll pay for it later." Minutes passed. The bikers laughed loudly, trading jokes and stories. The mother ate slowly, savoring every bite, as if each forkful mattered. When she was done, she folded the napkin neatly, took a deep breath, and called Patty over again. "Can I take the leftovers for my daughter?" she asked softly, her voice almost breaking. The diner went still. Even the laughter from the bikers stopped. Everyone looked at her. Patty blinked, surprised. "Of course you can, honey." She began to pack the little that was left, half a piece of toast and some scrambled eggs, into a small container. But one of the bikers leaned toward his leader and muttered something under his breath. The big man's jaw tightened. He turned his gaze toward the young woman, studying her quietly. "You got a daughter?" he asked. She nodded, startled. "Yes, sir. She's 7. The man's voice softened. "And she hasn't eaten?" The woman's eyes filled again. She shook her head, embarrassed. "I've been looking for work. I clean houses sometimes, but it's been hard." The diner was silent again. The leader looked down, as if remembering something painful. Then he stood up, pulled a crumpled bill from his jacket pocket, and placed it on the counter. "We'll cover her meal," he said. The other bikers followed, tossing money down 20s, 50s without a word. The woman tried to protest. "Please, you don't have to." But the man raised a hand gently. "Let us," he said. "You remind me of someone?" Her lip quivered. She clutched the small box of leftovers to her chest. "Thank you," she whispered. "You have no idea what this means." The leader smiled faintly. "Eat well tonight, ma'am, and take care of that little girl." As she left the diner, the bell above the door jingled softly. The bikers watched her disappear down the road, the small takeout box pressed close to her heart. Patty turned toward the group. "You folks did a good thing today." The leader sighed, his eyes distant. "Yeah," he said quietly. "But something tells me, story ain't over." He didn't know then just how right he was. The next morning, the roar of engines echoed through the sleepy town as the Iron Hawks gathered outside their clubhouse. The leader, known as Bear, leaned on his bike and stared into the distance, lost in thought. His second in command, Rocco, noticed. "You've been quiet since last night," Rocco said, lighting a cigarette. Bear exhaled heavily. That woman. Something about her eyes, man. The way she held that box of leftovers like it was the most precious thing in the world. Reminded me of my mom after my old man left. Always made sure I ate first, even when she didn't. Rocco nodded slowly. "You thinking what I'm thinking?" Bear smirked. "Yeah, let's find her." Within hours, the bikers were riding down the narrow, broken streets on the far edge of town. They passed rows of rusted trailers, peeling paint, and flickering porch lights. Finally, they stopped in front of a small, beaten-up house with a sagging porch. Through a cracked window, Bear saw the same young mother sitting on the floor with a little girl. The child's hair was messy, her cheeks thin, but she was smiling as her mom divided the small portion of eggs from last night into 2 plates. The mother whispered something that made the girl laugh softly. Bear felt his throat tighten. She wasn't lying, he muttered. The bikers exchanged glances. Rocco scratched his head. What now, boss? Bear thought for a moment. We helped quietly. That afternoon, while the mother and daughter were out walking, the bikers returned. They fixed her broken porch steps, replaced the busted lock on the front door, and left bags of groceries by the kitchen window. No notes, no names. When she came home, she froze. Her daughter gasped, "Mommy, look." The woman dropped to her knees, tears streaming down her face as she looked at the groceries, the new lock and the sturdy steps. Who did this?" she whispered. From across the street, Bear watched from his bike, hidden behind his sunglasses. He smiled to himself and started the engine. But that night, as the bikers sat around a bonfire back at the clubhouse, a news report came on the old TV. The announcer's voice said, "Local mechanic's widow faces eviction after her husband's accident. She's been struggling to provide for her young daughter." A photo flashed on the screen. It was her. Bear's smile faded. "Eviction," he muttered. The next morning, they returned to her house only to find a city worker posting a red eviction notice on the door. The woman stood nearby, holding her daughter, shaking. "Please, I just need a few more days," she begged. The man stapled the notice and walked away without a word. The bikers watched from a distance, Bear's fists clenched around the handlebars. Rocco turned to him. "Boss?" Bear's voice was low, steady, and cold. "Nobody's throwing her out. Not on my watch." The rumble of engines filled the air again as the Iron Hawks pulled up to the curb. The woman turned in shock as the wall of leather jackets and chrome surrounded her small house. Bear dismounted and walked up to her slowly. "Ma'am," he said, tipping his head. "We saw the notice." Her voice trembled. "They said I have 3 days to leave. I don't know what to do." Bear nodded. "You don't have to. We've got this." She blinked, confused. "I don't understand. Why would you help me?" Bear looked down at the little girl peeking out from behind her mother's skirt. "Because once upon a time," he said quietly, "someone helped my mom when she thought nobody cared. Guess it's my turn now." The woman covered her mouth, tears streaming again. The bikers rolled up their sleeves, ready to work. They didn't just stop the eviction, they built her a life she never thought possible. But they didn't yet know who had taken everything from her. And that discovery would change everything. 2 days later, the small neighborhood woke to the thunder of engines again. But this time, the Iron Hawks weren't just there to help. They were there for justice. Bear stood in front of the widow's house, talking with her as his crew unloaded boxes of tools, lumber, and paint. "We'll get your place fixed up," he said, smiling gently. "Your husband's shop? What happened to it?" Her expression darkened. He had a small repair garage out on Riverbend Road. "After the accident, I tried to keep it running, but the landlord raised the rent. Then he said I still owed him for damages from the fire. But there was no fire. He just took everything." Bear's jaw tightened. "Who's the landlord?" She hesitated, glancing at her daughter, then whispered, "His name's Carter. He owns half the town." The name hit like a hammer. Rocco's eyes widened. "You mean that Carter? The same one who tried to buy our lot last year?" Bear nodded slowly. "Yeah, the same greedy bastard." He turned to his crew. "Boys, we're paying Mr. Carter a visit." A few hours later, the Iron Hawks rolled up to a pristine white office building on the edge of town. Expensive cars lined the parking lot, and a large silver sign read Carter Realty and Holdings. The bikers parked in a perfect line, boots hitting the pavement in sync as they marched inside. The receptionist froze as the sound of heavy leather and boots filled the lobby. Bear leaned on the counter. "We're here to see Mr. Carter. Do you have an appointment?" she stammered. Bear smiled thinly. "We don't make appointments. We make things right." Moments later, a man in an expensive suit appeared at the top of the stairs. Slick hair, polished shoes, the kind of smile that never reached his eyes. "Gentlemen," he said, "what can I do for you?" Bear looked up at him. "You can stop stealing from widows." The smirk faded. "I don't know what you're talking about." Bear took a step forward. "You took her husband's garage. You took her tools. Shh. You left her and her daughter with nothing. That ends today." Carter laughed. but his voice trembled slightly. "You think you can threaten me? You're just a gang of washed-up bikers." Rocco stepped forward. "A gang that rebuilt a neighborhood while you were stealing from it." The other bikers spread out behind Bear, their presence filling the room like thunderclouds before a storm. Carter backed up slightly. "You can't scare me." Bear's tone turned calm to calm. "No, but maybe the IRS will be." He tossed a small folder onto the man's desk. Copies of documents the bikers had dug up overnight, fraudulent contracts, fake damage claims, illegal rent hikes. Carter's face went pale. "Where did you get these?" Bear crossed his arms. "It doesn't matter. What matters is that if that woman's eviction isn't canceled by tomorrow, this folder goes straight to the sheriff." "And the local news?" Carter swallowed hard, glancing between them. The room felt heavy with silence. Finally, he nodded. "Fine. The debt's cleared. She can keep the house." Bear turned to leave, but stopped at the door. "One more thing," he said, without looking back. "If I ever hear you pulled this kind of stunt again, we won't come with paperwork next time." The roar of engines filled the air again as the Iron Hawks rode back to the little house on the edge of town. The mother was sitting on the porch, her daughter in her lap. She saw them. She stood, confused. Bear stopped in front of her and handed her an envelope. Inside was a deed, her house, officially in her name. "I don't understand," she whispered. Bear smiled softly. "You don't need to. Just know that good people don't forget kindness." The little girl ran forward and hugged his leg. "Thank you, Mr. Biker," she said, grinning up at him. Bear's tough expression broke into a small, genuine smile. "Take care of your mom, kiddo." As the bikes pulled away and disappeared down the road, the woman watched them until the sound faded into the wind. She looked down at the deed again, tears filling her eyes. She never saw Bear again, but from that day on, every morning, fresh flowers appeared on her porch. No note, no name. It's just a quiet reminder that sometimes kindness comes wrapped in leather and roaring engines.